welfare, and on a grander scale, the health of the world's oceans. While the county's tourist-based industry hinges on the beauty of our community, natural areas, and beaches, single-use plastic bags easily take to the air, lining our roadways, in trees and bushes, parks and beaches. Retail bags are the #1 flyaway issue at landfills and the 4th most frequently found item in coastal cleanups worldwide, accounting for 8% of all items collected. It is estimated that 1 million plastic bags are in use around the world per minute, and that the average American shopper takes home about 1,500 bags a year, which adds up to 100 billion bags annually. These billions of bags require 12 million barrels of oil to manufacture, and 14 plastic bags are the equivalent to the amount of gas required to drive 1 mile. They are used for an average of 12 minutes, with less than 12% recycled or used again. Since Waste Pro does not accept them for recycling, ours end up in the landfill. Plastic pollution also has a direct effect and deadly effect on wildlife. Thousands of seabirds, sea turtles, seals, and marine animals are killed each year after ingesting plastic or getting entangled in it. 1 in 3 leatherback sea turtles has been found with plastic in their stomachs. At least 267 different species have been affected by plastic pollution in the ocean, and an estimated 100,000 marine animals are killed by plastic bags annually. Wakulla County's commercial and sports fishery industry relies on healthy waters and fish. Due to its low density, plastic bag waste is readily transported long distance from their sources and are part of the 80% of ocean plastic pollution that enters from land. Unfortunately, plastic bags don't break down completely, but instead photobiodegrade, becoming microplastics, which absorb toxins and continue to pollute the environment. As these microplastics float in the water, they also absorb dangerous pollutants like PCBs, DDTs, and PAH. These highly toxic chemicals have a wide range of chronic effects, including endocrine disruption, cancer-causing mutations. The concentration of PCBs and plastics floating in the ocean has been documented at over 100,000 to 1 million times around that in surrounding waters. When filter feeders ingest plastic particulates, these chemicals can be absorbed by their tissue. The effect of this latter phenomenon on the rest of the food chain over the long term is not currently known, but early studies have shown that a total ratio of plastic to zooplankton of 8 to 1 in some areas, which indicates a high potential for bioaccumulation, especially in an oyster industry. Recent studies in California fish markets found that a quarter of the fish in those markets had plastic in their guts, mostly in the form of microfibers. Now, in 2008, the Florida legislature found that the prudent regulation of recyclable materials is crucial to the ongoing welfare of Florida's ecology and economy, and mandated that the Department of Environmental Protection provide a report with conclusions and recommendations to the legislature no later than February 1st, 2010. They also stipulated that until such time that the legislator adopts these recommendations of the department, no local governmental agency or state government agency may enact any rule, regulation, or an ordinance regarding use or disposition, sale, prohibition, restriction, or tax on such accessory containers, wrappings, or disposable plastic bags. That report was provided by the Department of Environmental Protection on the date stipulated. Over 8 years later, no action has been taken on this issue that both the Florida legislature and the Florida Department of Environmental Protection agree is crucial to the ongoing welfare of Florida's ecology and economy. In their retail bags report, February 1st, 2010, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection stated that bags have quickly become pollution affecting Florida's fresh and saltwater resources, animal welfare, and on a grander scale, the health of the world's oceans. Of the 10 most populous states, Florida is number 4, actually it's now number 3. 8 have proposed or enacted retail bag regulations at either the state or local level. California, Texas, New York, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, and North Carolina. To keep Wakulla County beautiful, economically thriving, and healthy, we need to eliminate the use of single-use plastic bags. Numerous counties and communities have banned single-use plastic bags and reported no sustained negative impact to retailers, and are reporting a 40% increase in reusable bags and paper bags, up to 16%. If Wakulla County declares that it is in the best interest of the public health and safety, welfare of its residents and visitors to reduce litter and pollutants on our land and in our waters, and that the distribution of single-use carry-out plastic bags by retailers to consumers for the use in carrying purchased goods has a detrimental effect on the environment, then we need to begin taking steps to reduce the use of these bags in our community. Now, as far as it goes, there's several things we could do. I think the easiest first step we should do is pass a resolution to encourage the legislator to either remove their prohibition or enact some type of legislation on single-use plastic bags. And then further than that, we need to start encouraging our businesses to move away from plastic bags. And how do you do that? It's not something Walmart has businesses in California, and in those businesses, they have a different model for their plastic bags. But they only do it in those businesses where the community has banned plastic bags. They don't do it anywhere else. And so those are the situations we're dealing with. And I'm not sure how to go forward and eliminate these, but this is something we need to figure out a way to eliminate single-use plastic bags in our community. So, any thoughts?
Citizens or discussion?
Citizens.
Well, we obviously the legislator has said that we can't pass a law.
Right.
One of your options is pass a law anyway. I don't think I would support that.
Yeah, I don't think so either, but I think doing the one 90 days later, then they would everybody would know we were going to do it if the legislator lets us, okay? And so they would be planning on what they would do once it goes into effect. And so they would have a long, because it would take the legislature to, at least a year. Okay, and then they have a long lead time to figure out.
So at this point, it would mean nothing. They could wait another 6 years,
right,
and they do nothing.
Right.
And our rule would mean nothing then.
Our rule wouldn't be nothing until the legislator lets us do it.
I don't have a problem passing a resolution for the legislature to go ahead and do what they said what they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, is what it's going to say. All right, do your job.
Do your job.
On your number 2, that one basically leaves it up to us if we pass the resolution, and then 1 year later it goes into effect. Is that right?
The number 2 would be we just went ahead and did it. I can't recommend that because we just end up in court. Okay,
Pardon?
We just end up in court.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't want to do that.
But the number 3, okay, we would accomplish the same thing. Okay, we would ban them, but it wouldn't go into effect until the legislature allows us to do it. Okay, and so number 3 is a really good option because it tells the retailers that we're planning on doing this. Okay, and if as soon as the legislature allows us to do it.
How does this affect other businesses besides a Walmart?
All businesses,
Ace Hardware,
Ace Hardware
stores,
they'd all have to comply.
that have to go to
Plastic, paper bags, or you could do the compostable, the ones that break down into carbon. And so those wouldn't have any impact on the environment and wouldn't impact our fisheries and you know, they look like plastic bags. They handle like plastic bags. They're just a little more expensive.
But they would still blow out of the back of a truck.
They'd still blow out of the back of the truck. They would break down differently in the environment. The ones we have right now just stay out there for a long time. The compostables are supposed to break down a lot faster.
Vegetable based, right?
Vegetable based.
Further discussion, and one.
Go ahead.
Let's start out with Miss Shelley Swenson. You will, speaking to the microphone, give your name and address so the folks at home can hear you as well.
I'm Shelley Swenson, and I live at 12 Sir Lancelot Way here in Crawfordville. I want to start by offering you a compliment, and that compliment is that I want to thank you for launching the curbside recycling a few years ago. I know it was a controversial issue, but it was a fine one. I thank you for taking the heat and making it happen. Commissioner Hess has provided you such an outstanding background of information to reflect what plastic has done in our communities and in our country, so I want to concentrate on a different angle. When I was in your employment at UFIFAS Wakulla, I wrote a local article on a regular basis about sustainability and the changes that we needed to make within our county to become more responsible citizens. When I would broach the subject of reusable bags for the supermarket, I was sure to get phone calls and office visits, especially when I reminded everyone that I was a relocated Midwesterner who felt that really this was one of the trashiest places I'd ever lived. Many just could not understand how we could possibly go through with finding alternatives for plastic. The reactions that I got, which you're going to face, quote, Shelley, I need that plastic. I line my trash cans and I pick up dog waste with them. Yes, they're handy, but how many do you need to take home from the supermarket? Quote, Shelley, I recycle them. Great, but drive the highways and byways and see how many people don't recycle them. Quote, I have reusable bags, but I always forget them in my car. There was a willingness on the part of these people, but they just had not made the change yet. My suggestion would be park your buggy, go to the car, get them, come back in, and after a few times of doing that, you won't forget them again. Shelley, reusable bags just aren't sanitary. You know, there's really nothing wrong with washing them, I would offer. Did raising the price of cigarettes have an effect on lessening smoking? Some say no. Research supports the idea that it did. Does this have potential for changed behavior if shoppers had to pay for their plastic? Quote, Shelley, get used to living in the South. We just litter. And there was some pride on the part of the person that said this to me. I don't get it. I'm a Midwesterner who's lived in Florida for over 10 years, and I really can't believe that Southerners like trash. I believe that many will say that this is not a government problem. It's an educational opportunity. Both is true, but somebody and many people have to provide the spokes in the wheel to change the attitudes and solve this problem. We need you to lead the charge. Any community is limited on how many individuals are available to assume the educational role and influence people. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Ms. Joanne Palmer.
Joanne Palmer, 29 Reservation Court, Crawfordville, and I'm here as a private citizen. Thank you. Okay, good afternoon. I've been the director of Keep Wakulla County Beautiful for the past 7 years, and as you know, I have resigned. I want to tell you that I appreciate all your support, both personally and professionally, in the past, and I'm here today to speak as a private citizen to effect any change in the way Wakulla County can eliminate, ban, or change the current use of single-use, quote, carry-out plastic bags. There's a widespread push in many states and individual communities to ban their use altogether, and Commissioner Hess has covered a lot of that. Unfortunately, not everybody feels they should be banned, and of course, that comes from big corporations and big money who profit from the manufacturing of the product from oil, etc. Many cities and states are facing lawsuits by the manufacturers and the grocery industry in particular who don't want to see any changes. As a result, many cities have just avoided the law, the banned law, by changing the way they control the size of the recycle bags. But according to the Environmental Protection Agency, 380 billion plastic bags are consumed every year. Commissioner Hess went over this. It costs an estimated $4 billion, and 4 out of 5 plastic bags, or grocery bags in the United States, are plastic. So I'm going to be repeating some things you said. So, many cities have figured out a way to circumvent the bag of single-use bag, or carry out bags by simply making the plastic thicker. And we always say a Walmart bag. So Chris Russell, who's not here today, sent me some Walmart bags from Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico has banned plastic bags. This is their answer to it. It's reusable, but it's still plastic. This is a Walmart bag I picked up on the side of Wakulla Aaron today. You can see the difference. This is the thin, which meets the criteria for single use. This is thick, so it was outside of the law about what a single-use bag is. So you can see that is a big difference, and that's how they're getting around that. So I know there is a current preemptive exemption in the Florida statutes. That's what happens to your bags when you take them home. You know, they get stuck under your sink. And this is the one, and yes, I did pick it up on Wakulla Aaron. So I know there's a current preemptive exemption in the state statutes that prohibits the passing of an ordinance, that's a key word, by a county in Florida to ban the use of single-use plastic bags. The preemptions are currently considered by many to be the biggest challenge in fighting plastic pollution locally, because any progress made at the local level on plastic bag bans and fees can be trumped by the state law passed by the legislature. I also know that the powers to be here in Florida are dragging their feet with respect to this issue. So rather than drag out efforts on sustaining the quality of our fragile environment, I would propose looking at a resolution that other cities have been able to be successful in passing to move toward a mandate to replace the harmful plastic bags with Bring Your Own Bag initiative and impose a 10-cent minimum charge for recycled paper bags, reusable plastic bags, and compostable bags at certain locations and retailers. The fee should stay with the retailer so it's not mistakenly called a tax. It's important that we work toward a community free of plastic pollution and its toxic impact on humans, animals, waterways, and oceans. These are some of the cities that have, Commissioner Hess mentioned, that have been successful in making a ban, and these are cities that have imposed a plastic fee. And this information came from the National Conference of State Legislators, and I have a summary of all their proposals. I have a summary that outlines everything that they have enacted or things that are pending. If anybody wants a copy of this, it's pretty interesting, and if we're going to work toward this, then we might take some ideas from other cities and states that have this. Here's a picture of the United States. You see where we are, which is the red states have a preemptive exemption. So Florida is not the only state that is holding hostage any change that can take place. Now, there is no question that plastic waste is a huge problem. The University of Miami researcher estimates by 2050 our oceans will have more plastic than fish, pound per pound. Already, 8 million tons of new plastic end up in our seas every year. This puts our marine system, which is a major source of protein for many developing nations, at serious risk. But even before our fish food becomes toxic and unusable, there's a bigger issue than waste at play: the oil and carbon dependency of these plastics. I was in Publix one day, and I told the kid I'd I got more than I thought, so I said, I'll take paper. And he goes, oh, you won't take plastic, but you'll take paper. I said, why do you think gasoline, why do you think oil, what do you think it's made of? And he goes, well, we cut down trees. And I said, yeah, but trees are renewable. And they are, we're a huge tree industry in this community. But anyway, the carbon footprint is that 12 million barrels of oil, for example, are needed to produce 30 billion plastic bags in the United States. And that's just plastic bags. And another 17 million barrels of oil to produce America's bottled water. A quarter of a liter of oil, 3 liters of water equal 1 liter of bottled water. So that, to me, is just outrageous. Plastic products are everywhere. We use them every day in our homes, schools, offices, and during our travels in between places. Our modern world has become so dependent on the convenience of mass-produced, readily available plastic products like disposable bottles, bags, and caps that it is surprising to consider that the world was once plastic-free. In just one generation, roughly from 1940 to the present, our overwhelming reliance on plastics has created environmental problems such as crowded landfills and groundwater, contamination, and ocean debris. You can't read that, but Commissioner Hess alluded to. It says that every itsy-bitsy tiddlywink that's made out of plastic that hasn't been incinerated is still here somewhere. The production of plastic now accounts for 6 to 8% of all oil consumption globally, and in 30 years that number is projected to rise to 20%. In our area, a single-use bag has a terrible impact on our marine and wildlife. A negative impact on our marine because of entanglement and discarded nets, and sea turtles were found with plastic bags in their stomach. Some marine mammals swallow plastic bags, which resemble jellyfish in seawater. About 44% of seabirds eat plastics mistaken for food, leading to suffocation and blockage of the digestive tract and eventual death. We all hear the scary news stories about the floating islands of plastic in the water, in our oceans, and as with any issue, there will be people on both sides of it. The people like me who care about what we leave our children and what we do to help the world be a cleaner place. The other side will be like I mentioned earlier, big money or people who don't believe there really is a negative impact caused by the tons of littered plastic and don't want to change their behavior. I hope you will get on board and support this initiative, and thank you, Commissioner Hess, for starting the dialogue. The following slides are difficult to watch. You see how the bag resembles a jellyfish? It can be. I personally turned the boat around, or made the captain turn the boat around to go pick up a plastic bag off the lighthouse because there was a turtle going for it. That mother's kissing her little baby that has a plastic bag on his head. These slides are difficult to look at, but hopefully they will help you make a choice even while we are working on changing the way retailers and restaurants handle what we carry out. Please be a good example by doing the right thing and carry your own plastic bag. I'm just going to, that's a bag on a dolphin. And then that's entanglement, and they call that ghost fishing. And Keep Wakulla County Beautiful has a recycle recovery program, and Commissioner Hess's wife Carrie helps us monitor the tubes that were put out, because that's what's happening when you just say, oh, this net's got a hole in it, I'll just drop it in the ocean. And then that's our sign, that's one of our tubes, and we want our ocean, when people come to look, as pristine as that, and not like, oops, that's a bird. Not like that. It's just amazing. That bird is totally engulfed in a sack, in a plastic bag. And then this one is trying to eat a fish that was thrown out in a plastic bag. And plastic straws are the 10th in the top 10 of items picked up during coastal cleanup. And there's also a mission, an initiative by Keep America Beautiful to ban the straw. So, and that's a deal with the plastic bag in its mouth. We don't think about that. Plastic pollution, single-use plastic. We want our seas to look like that. And then some ways that, please consider what you, one person, can do, and here's a good start, is you can start by bringing your own eco-friendly bags, patronize businesses that support the effort to reduce plastic bags, and don't get mad if they're inconvenient, if it inconveniences you if they don't give you a plastic bag. Spread awareness by not accepting plastic bags from retailers and reminding them that it's toxic to our environment. Let's start educating our children about plastic bag problems so that they can continue the efforts and go green themselves and stop using plastic altogether. Just by remembering to bring your own bag while you're shopping, you'll be helping our environment. Please help us stop this litter pollutant. Do your part. BYOB is the right thing to do. And you can also take old T-shirts and make bags out of them. So, any questions? Does anybody want this report about the states? Okay. Nobody? Come on, you guys. At least read up on it.
I'll take it, Tom.
Here, thank you.
Chuck, you read it for me.
Thank you, Joanne. Next, Mr. Greg Marr Jr.
Sorry, was you pointing?
No,
Oh,
Mary Catherine back here was trying to figure out where the cards are at, and I'm trying to tell her they're up here.
my name's Greg Marr Jr. My address is,
Hang on just one
Sorry.
second, Greg. Right up front with Patty is a speaker card. Looks like this right here. Just fill that out and give that to Patty. Go ahead. Thank you.
thank you. My name's Greg Marr Jr. My address is 81 Bay Pine Drive here in Crawfordville. Commissioner Hess, I'm glad you read that post. It saved me an awful lot of time. Your post opens with a statement that this workshop's to discuss the prohibition of bags. And then you summarize saying that to keep Wakulla County beautiful, economically thriving, and healthy, we need to ban single-use bags. There are any number of things that we could say fit the description that we need to do away with in order to keep Wakulla County beautiful, economically thriving, and healthy. I find the language in that post troubling. There's a clear message contained in it that indicates your willingness to achieve an outcome that suits your immediate issue, but is a terribly slippery slope, couched in very well-intentioned language. Changing people's behavior is tricky, tricky business. Unintended consequences are inevitably the outcome. One of the issues you raised in your statement is a concern over PCBs, and it's my understanding those have been illegal to be produced in plastics in the United States since 1979, so that really doesn't have any place in the discussion about banning bags here today in this county of 30-some thousand people. What are the downsides? None of those seem to be addressed in your post either. It's my understanding that there's current litigation going on in other places that have resulted from banning plastic bags. That's going to be costly, quick. Trying to encourage people to do the right thing is certainly a great goal and an effort to undertake. But making short-sighted actions just because we have to do something is a recurring theme that is costing people their freedom everywhere I look in this country. And I certainly don't want to have to look close to home to find that. Right up the road in Leon County, a well-intentioned county commission, because they were constitutionally within their purview, passed an ordinance because we just had to do something, and there was a public outcry. And there were a lot of fancy words and pictures, and everybody's upset. And again, we just got to do something. And they had absolutely not a single person on that dais had a clue why 11 counties in the state that took the action they took, 4 of those undid it. And I asked them, I said, in this day and age, what must it take for a governing body to reopen the gun show loophole? Because that was what they were talking about. And that's what those 4 of 11 counties that did exactly what they did turned around and undid. And none of them had the answer. None of them. There are more pressing and realistic issues that the citizenry of this county need to have you, this body, focused on. In 48 hours in this room, a citizen is going to have his ability to own pet goats ruled on by an ordinance, by a code enforcement board. And I'm assuming that if this was an ordinance, that would fall in the same neighborhood. I could be wrong. We need leadership. Careful, thoughtful, well-informed leadership. Not fear-mongering or personal activism. We need this body to always err on the side of private property rights, individual responsibility, and smaller, limited government. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Tammy Barfield.
Hey, thank y'all for having this workshop. I don't have anything prepared, but I just printed out a couple of little things. I just wanted to say, as a retailer in the county who doesn't have plastic bags in our store, it has not been an inconvenience. We use, and Sam's set the precedence years ago, who is a Walmart company. They use the boxes that their stuff comes in. They put them over to the side, and you can get a box, and you can put your stuff in it, and you can carry that right out. Not a big fan of creating more boxes, but those boxes are already here. So it doesn't add anything that hasn't already been trucked or shipped or somehow arrived at the store. And also we do offer paper bags. And I'll tell you, a lot of our customers bring their own bags. And the people who don't, if they just have a little pile of stuff, and I'll say, do you want a little bag? And they'll just go, no, no, no. You know, they drop it in their purse, they carry it out. I mean, you have to deal with it when it hits your car, and then when it hits your house, and, you know, it's just more stuff. And George Carlin did a great thing on stuff a long time ago, but anyway, we won't go there. But one thing is, nobody's really sure how long it takes a plastic bag to decompose, but they think that the estimate is 500 to 1,000 years. Even then, it doesn't totally decompose. It breaks down into these tiny little particles that are part of that Pacific Ocean plastic, miles of plastic. It's not a dead zone. We have a dead zone in the Gulf. It's a plastic, it's the ocean's collection of plastic from beaches and boats and everything else. Anyhow, I would encourage some kind of, if not, the state of Florida doesn't want us to ban them, which I didn't have enough time and haven't looked at. I know that there was a national or a federal regulation through NOAA that came through about the oceans and coastal areas that as a population and the states should protect the ocean. So the lawyers can figure out how all that weighs into what Florida did, because we are surrounded by the ocean. But anyway, there are some things that we could do. If we can't ban them, we could limit them. We could do an educational campaign. People can bring their own bags. People can use the boxes that are available at the stores. I'm sure that other stores get a lot of stuff in boxes, and they probably just flatten them. And actually, what our option is, we can flatten our boxes and put them in a big dumpster for $80 a month. We could pay Marpan or Waste Pro to come and pick up our boxes in that dumpster, and then they go and sell it to the recycle. So to me, that's not an option. So Mary Catherine and I take our own boxes to the transfer station. We don't make any money off them yet, but I'm thinking about it. But, the other thing is, in-store recycling, which is kind of like the boxes, or even, I've had customers who get plastic bags because somebody else brought it to their house and they use them in the store. You know, they just bring it with them and put our stuff in it. You know, I mean, you can reuse them, but they still don't biodegrade. But I mean, the single-use plastics have got to stop. Our bottled water is in recycled and some biodegradable bottles. There's bottled water that's available in cardboard. I mean, there are other options than plastic in this world. But anyway, that's all I have to say about that. And I would encourage support in some manner, regulating in some way, I hate to use that word, somehow trying to find an answer to the plastic. I'm like Joanne. I saw so many on the way here, and I didn't have time, on the way to the store. I didn't have time to stop and pick them up or take the pictures, but there were a lot. So, thank you.
Yeah. That's Mary Catherine Westmark.
I just want to say thank you to you guys for having this today, too. And I'm going to mirror what Tammy said exactly, but also I wanted to say that since we've been open in 5 years, we have never had one customer ever complain because we didn't have plastic bags. They never even say anything about it. And we don't have just hippy-dippy customers in our store. We have locals who are just, that I've known all my life, who are just normal, regular people. So it's not like it's a hippie thing or if that makes any sense at all. We just never had anybody complain. Most people just take a box, or they have their own bag, or they take a paper bag and they're okay with it. And the other thing I want to say is with the recycling of the cardboard, we also have customers who come to the shop and they'll get the cardboard out of our trailer, like Chuck and Carrie do that, and we have other customers who are like gardeners, and they use that cardboard to line their garden beds with because it kills the roots, you know, of the weeds that come through. And the garden in front of our shop, that's how those guys did that too. But my point is, this plastic bag thing, it's you know, we lived without plastic. When I was a kid, we didn't have plastic. Everything was paper bags. No one ever, you know, that was fine. So I just don't, you know, get it. I don't know why it's such a big deal to not have plastic bags. That's it.
Thank you, ma'am. That ends our citizen input. Further discussion.
Well, see, you know, we're a community of paper products. Basically, one of our biggest industries is paper. We have a pulp mill industry, we have a pulp mill in the area, we have lots of timber activity going on here. You know, one of the things, the advantages of this is if we move away from plastics, one of the options for the retail industry is to move back to paper, which, you know, they moved away because of the convenience of getting lots of plastics for a short period, you know, really quickly, and they can storage issues. But they can move back to paper, and we can have paper bags back in our community, which enhances a lot of things in our community.
Didn't we get the plastic because people were opposed to killing the trees and using all the paper? That's what I seem to remember as a kid. There was a push to, let's stop killing these trees, let's stop using these paper bags.
One of the thoughts of the time was that was it was more environmentally friendly because it didn't cut down trees, but that doesn't make any sense when you have a lot of industry based on tree production and tree harvest and tree usage, and that's the advantage is that's cycling carbon. Okay, if you want to talk about environmentally, that's cycling carbon. It just replaces itself. The oil is a non-cycling. That's sequestered carbon, so you don't want to take that out of the ground. So this is as far as the carbon footprint and the CO2 footprint, it's much better to work on with the paper products.
I don't disagree with that.
Now, in the future, you know, I'm trying to get a gauge of what to bring back to the board. I would be happy to bring out a resolution encouraging the legislature to make a decision on plastics, you know, whatever their decision is going to be. I would also like to bring back resolution, getting rid of it 90 days after they make their decision. But, I don't want to come up here and fight about it, or have arguments or not get seconded. So if anybody's interested in those two, I'd be willing
I
to
want to
bring them
talk to some
forward.
more people
Okay.
about that. And I want to talk to the local, I understand what Mary Catherine's saying, but I want to talk to Waterley and, some other people, Ace, like I said, before just jumping into it.
Mhm.
I mean, I understand his point too. We can't legislate every problem in the world by just making a ban on it, So I would certainly support a resolution encouraging the legislature to make their mind up.
Well, the other
That's
option,
just me. Somebody else may.
we could also, one of the things I was thinking about is form a committee of citizens to discuss it and look at options and what we can do to encourage our community to move away. So we all would appoint somebody to a committee to talk and discuss this and try to move us away from plastic bags. You could do one from each of us, one from the Chamber of Commerce, and one from Wakulla County Beautiful, and
They would just make recommendations.
they would
back
just
to us.
make recommendations to us.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with number 3 on your, after the effective date. I just want to get into a lawsuit defending the thing, as long as I don't.
I think if there's a way to do this by encouraging people to do like Mary Catherine and them are doing, which is maybe not mandated, but certainly encourage it.
Yeah, it's we have to have some either a committee or something that's coming from community leaders that's getting the people to recognize the problem. And that's the problem, is how to, it's so convenient to just forget about it and move, just get your plastic and go on. And we need to get the people to recognize the problem. I mean, Chris Russell I was talking to him this morning, and he did a ride to his house, and he had 322 plastic bags on the roadside.
I doubt they're everywhere.
Okay, they're everywhere on our roadside. This is one of the major things that, people complain about trash. This is one of the major things that does it. And then the other point that recent studies have shown that the plastic, that's from Florida State University, the plastic, when these microfibers get on the beaches, they're raising the temperature of the soil and preventing the correct sex determination for the turtles as they're hatching.
Wow.
And so
Figured that.
it's changed. Turtles basically, they change their sex depending on how hot the sun
Really
is.
deep into the weeds.
I know, that's why I didn't talk about it. But there's a lot of issues that can come with these plastics, and everyone's coming out to be negative for our environment and for us as individuals. So
I think we probably all agree that we need to keep it out of the environment.
Mhm.
I don't think that's even a discussion. I can't imagine that it would be for any of us. The problem is always
How to do it.
regulating behaviors.
Mhm.
We got a lot of people that buy their groceries in Leon County and come down here, and we can outlaw them, and they're still coming down, and
It's true, but if we step up to the table, we can start expecting other communities to step up to the table also.
So what you're talking about is basically an education campaign, and so, that means committing to spend money and educate people about it. I would certainly, right now, people don't have to use plastic bags. They don't use them at Mary Catherine's store, and that's a choice. They choose, right, but they choose not to. And if people felt that that's the way they wanted to go, they have that option at every store.
I use white paper bags at Publix. What it takes 6 or 8 plastic bags to fill up, you can put it in 2 paper bags.
Yeah.
Well, I was trying to be conscious and save the trees. But now you tell me it's okay to cut trees down and save the plastic bags.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
So-
feel bad now.
Don't feel bad. The problem is that, yes, but most people aren't thinking about these issues, and they're not moving, doing the items that we need as a community to do. And so how do we inform people? How do we get people to work on this? How do people get people to care about this?
We could basically ask I basically agree. I'd like to see plastic done away with, really, as far as bags, because it is polluting and it never breaks down. In a public, having the public work with us, if we could ask the stores themselves to put a display and a sign, please recycle, buy this Sam's bag. I use the Sam's bags. Of course, I've got 4 of them because when I can fill up, the cloth bag. That's a good option if we encourage the people who use the most. Let's just say Walmart. If we went to Walmart and said, we're not going to ban your bags, because evidently we probably can't, but we would like for you to put at your register the option of people buying a cloth bag for their groceries,
They're there now.
and let it on a volunteer basis. But I think just verbiage telling the people, hey, quit using plastic bags. But if I've got the option of buying a bag at the grocery store and taking it back and back and back, that appeals to me more. If it's handy, everything's got to be handy and easy to do. We go down the path of least resistance.
That's why plastic bags keep spreading in our system, is because it's the path of least resistance. And if we can put some resistance up there in some form or fashion, that people recognize that, and it just doesn't become second nature to get your plastic and go on. And that's where we need to be. And I'm not sure if maybe signs at the door and that kind of thing.
I don't think you're going to get a company like Walmart to volunteer to do anything.
No,
that's just not their method of operation. And so many other companies are not going to do that either, especially if they're a corporate national company. They, if you take a small company like Ace Hardware, which is local, you might could work with them. But being able to work with a Walmart is probably close to impossible. Although you could say, would you please give the people an option of buying a bag when they're shopping at your store?
Well, if they would just if Walmart would just take their heavy plastic bag, it's a reusable plastic bag, I could live with that. Okay, it's just because that one's not the biodegradable, quick disposable bag, and so that's what they do. That's what Walmart does in the communities of banning single-use bags.
It's sort of like Joanne said or whatever, but how in the world do you make a difference between a heavy plastic bag and a light plastic bag? They're all plastic and they're going to all be there forever.
That's true, but you can carry more. You don't have multiple, and the advantage is those on photo biodegrade and into the environment. They're more durable than that. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I was a boy, many years ago, we didn't have plastic bags, but the roads were still littered with Coca-Cola bottles and RC bottles, and we went and picked them up and sold them. And that's how we had our Gedunk money. The next generation, it was aluminum cans, and you saw people out picking up aluminum cans. Well, now we got plastic bags, and they don't get any money for plastic bags, so nobody's concerned about them. I have been talking about trash for weeks now before this came up, and we had a trash summit, and we're going to bring before the board a new ordinance that's going to address that, increasing the penalties. But as far as I'm concerned, we need to do something. I'm not sure what the right answer is. I'm fine with doing what Randy suggested at a minimum for now, but until we can get the public in Wakulla County to take pride in Wakulla County, it's not going to change, because there's not just plastic bags out there. Let's be honest. It's not. You counted 300 plastic bags. I could count 600 beer cans, and because I have cleaned up many, and this lady right here will attest to it, many a mile of road in Wakulla County with ROTC, hundreds of miles total. So, and I remember most of the content of those trash that we picked up on the roads was beer cans and whiskey bottles. That was the majority of it. And I'll challenge anybody to go out there and pick up a bag of trash down Raywinkle Road, and you'll find that it's beer cans and whiskey bottles. And I'm sure it's that way on any other road. Let me finish. My point is that just getting rid of bags, legislating that out is not going to, we're back to trying to tell people how to live their life, and until they start taking pride in what they're doing, living here in the county, then that's not going to change. But I'm fine with asking the legislature to make a decision and get off the pot, do something with it, and then, we can take our steps to do it here. When you go to Costco, they don't have plastic bags, they have boxes. I'm fine with that. But, if that's what we're going to do, then fine. But I'd like Jerry, I'd rather ask the corporations. I think if we talk to Walmart, they may be able to be willing to work with us. I don't know that. We haven't tried that yet. But it's not just Walmart, it's every other business in the county that uses plastic bags. So, but it's the people, it's their nature to throw it out on the side of the road because somebody else will pick it up. We spend $150,000 about a year in trash pickup right now. And can we just keep pouring money into it? Did the roads get any cleaner? No, they don't. Because as soon as they go through, people right behind them throwing it out again. So I'm not sure that just getting rid of plastic bags is the answer. We got to educate the public on trying to keep Wakulla County beautiful, period. And until we can change that, I don't think anything's going to change.
I agree with that. When I picked up Ronnie Raker, you styrofoam cups are a big one because they in McDonald's bags or fast food bags ain't going to be McDonald's, and some plastic bags, but a lot of it's just blowing out the back of people's.
That's absolutely true. Yeah.
Well, you see, during the hunting season, you see corn sacks all up and down the road, which is disturbing because people, hunters do that.
And empty ice
in the back of their truck and they blow out.
Plastic bags that have ice in them from coolers.
Ice bags.
And if the next thing that'll be on the side of the roads is paper sacks. Now, I agree that paper sacks will finally rot away and go away. Okay, but that's be the next thing on the side of the road until we get people to change the way they live. And I can't do that from up here. All I can do is ask them and encourage them, and they're going to do what they want to do.
There's another company that does boxes and so forth by the name of Aldi, A-L-D-I, I believe. They use boxes.
I mean, just like you said, Mike, it's about behavior. It's about changing people's behaviors, and I don't see. I try to look at not just this issue, but every issue, and say, are we serving the public, or are we ruling over the public? This seems like a ruling over the public to me, because I think we need to shift the minds.
How do we change their minds?
That's
the question.
challenge. How do we get them to stop speeding, stop doing drugs, and everything? I mean, there's so many things that's beyond our control, and I understand we got to do what we can do, but we don't want to do like Leon County just did. Let's just do something because we feel like something has to be done. There needs to be a clear path that this is the cause, this is the effect, this is why we're doing what we're doing, not we're just going to just do something.
But how do we start changing minds? And that's the question. I'm not sure. I know that if you put something up, the businesses will figure a way to get around it. Okay. Huh? Yes.
That's the.
Retailers do not provide plastic bags. People don't have them to walk out the rules. You have to educate the retailers.
I don't get rid of beer cans and whiskey bottles.
That's a whole other thing. That's another issue. My point is, if retailers don't provide plastic bags to people,
What I was fixing to say, thank you for saying that. That's all right. No, you didn't interrupt me. I'm saying I'm glad you said that because you're fixing to agree with what I said, is start some sort of initiative with the chamber to talk to their members. Like you said, you start with the retail people and, say, hey, Ace or whatever, there's a demand for alternatives to plastic bags, or, just try it for a little while. Maybe it doesn't hurt your business. I don't know. That is something we could do, but I think that should be handled to the chamber side rather than us making a new rule, a new ordinance we got to enforce.
may I say something else?
Please come up to the microphone.
You may have already forgotten exactly what you said, but why do we have to give them an option for plastic? I mean, there are stores like Lucky's, Earth Fare, that don't even provide, like Mary Catherine, and they don't provide anything but paper. And so it's like we're not killing anybody by just taking away the plastic bag. It's just figuring out an alternative to plastic. I think that's you know, how it should be approached. We're not hurting you, we're not taking away your plastic bag, we're giving you an alternative. And I think,
I think the answer to that is that never ends. That it's always a slippery slope. It's always a straw next, a soda, a cup next. I mean, and that all needs to come from the businesses. I commend these ladies.
Yeah, me too.
They've made that decision. And if it hasn't hurt their business, excellent. That's a good model. And that's the message that we need to get out, because we can't change people's behavior by saying you can't step across this line, because they will. People will still do that. And I mean, we're gonna ban the ice bags next. I mean, because that's the exact same thing. And even when you go to Costco and you get a double pack of peanut butter, it's wrapped in plastic, you know, and plastic's plastic. And, you know, that plastic's not recyclable. The jar may be. And so I'm just trying to be careful that I don't think plastic bags are the boogeyman. I think plastic in general may be, but we've taken one little thing now and we're making that the villain. And certainly we need to try to fix it and minimize it and solve it. I'm not trying to be pig-headed here, but I just don't see that is the one greatest evil that we need to deal with, and we can fix it just by these 5 guys saying, you shall not do it anymore. I don't.
But we do try to regulate behavior in a variety of ways. You know, we have speed laws and for basically making our community safer. And this is a law that could make our community safer. So it's along the same lines as that. So.
May I interject something?
If you'll come up to the microphone and fill out a speaker card when you're done.
We got about 3 minutes.
Yeah, 3 minutes. So when it rings this time, we're going to be
Just a quick interjection about the reason why plastic bags are so much important is because we cannot recycle them in our regular recyclables. And I am pleased that I can recycle my plastic bottles and my plastic this and that, but we can't do that with plastic bags. And so they, in particular, end up on the sides of the road. And if I go to my neighborhood and somebody's been throwing out their plastic bottles and I pick them up, I can take them to my own plastic recyclable bin. But I can't do that with the dirty old plastic bags that people have been throwing out on the side of the road. So that's why they are particularly egregious in terms of littering, and then the disintegrating and getting into our environment, into our wildlife. So.
Thank you. If you will, give us your name for the folks.
My name's Denise Spivey, 7 Marie Circle.
Thank you, and please fill out a speaker card with Miss Patty. Thank you.
People, we start this meeting.
All righty. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you all for coming out tonight. We'll continue working on it.